I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rob Eller.
Here.
Deb Ayers here. Scott Brown.
Here.
Tim Bowles.
Here.
Gary Cowan.
Here.
Jim Exler.
Here.
And Jeff Summers.
Bingo.
Everybody's here.
First
You didn't bingo the other night.
No. Gosh, I wanted that $6.50. I walked away a winner too.
Oh, it was over 40.
Well, I forgot to put the minutes on the agenda there, so we need that next there, Deb.
Okay. Did everybody get their minutes? I emailed them out today.
No.
If not, a copy you can read real quick. I've been sick and been sleeping. I have not been doing my duties here.
I went in, so
Oh,
Look fine to me.
I can't say anything about
make
it.
a motion then, Rob.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Aye. Second.
Second.
Who's gonna second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Brian, how about you?
Well, let's see here. Building permits are lightened up. I don't know if it was the drought that everybody got started early. I mean, we're still having some, but it's not the onslaught that we had in the spring. The last few weeks I've issued, I think, 8 or 9 verbal warnings. I've actually caught people out in their yard or knocked on their door and said, hey, got a few problems here. Like, for instance, one of them had weeds, and he said, well, I got a garden. And I said, yeah, and we had nothing against gardens. I said, but you got some horse weeds over here, and you got, and you can differentiate between it. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming. Well, another one knocked on the door and told him, we had Illinois plates. I said, I know you're renting this house. I don't know where you're from exactly, but, we do the ordinance, tall grass ordinance. And anyway, been going around playing Andy Griffith and, trying to get him to do the things without sending the letters. And actually, it's been working pretty well. So, of course, there's still a lot to go. The tax sale for the abandoned properties that we deal with is October the 5th, which is next week from tomorrow, next Friday. And so all the houses that we deal with, almost all of them, not all of them, almost all of them are tax sales. Not all of them, but most of them. And,
You mean the list that's in the paper? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, well, in our list, like Tim's.
Besides the ones we're looking at, right?
Well, there are 2 of the same, most of them.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah. Yeah.
We mow 41 yards. Not all of them are in there, but a lot of them are. And then the abandoned houses, I believe all of them are in there. So, we've got the one down by your neighborhood, 326 South State. We've got 601 Duane, and the one out in Scott's house on East Washington, and they're all in there. They're all on tax sale. Of course, we
Same
know.
ones that's been there for 10 years.
Yes, I bet it has been.
Yeah.
And, that's what we've talked about previously forever, that, whatever the system that we're using to dispose of these properties is not exactly working best that we wish it would. So, Jason's here, let him give that report. He said they're doing something, buying out a sister company. There he is right here, I'll let him give that, but I'll let him take care of that part. But anyway, we're gonna meet Monday morning at 9:30. I don't know if Tim's gonna make it or not, so you can try to
Will
make
that
it.
be here?
Yeah. And we're gonna discuss our legal strategies for these tax sale unsafe properties, how to proceed. Each one of them's different. They've all got their own set of problems. Like the one on East Beach that we tore down, 722 East Beach, the guy died, had no direct heirs. The estate, what would have been an estate or could have been, I guess, called an estate, but actually it was just a pile of liens. It was with the bank sold to another bank, left a mess. the one on 409 Donaldson, West Donaldson that we tore down. Fifth Third foreclosed on somebody. It's supposedly sold in a tax sale like the one on East Washington. And then to come to find out, there was an error made in the auditor's office at the time, I believe, one of the offices. Some of the paperwork was incorrect, so what they thought was a tax sale was negated, but the bank didn't take title to the property. It's still a tax sale. So we are parties that have, we have an interest, a substantial interest in the properties, and we have to let the other people know that have substantial interest in the properties, what's going on with them as we go in the process.
Can the city bid on those in the tax sale?
Well, we could if we had a land bank. You know, that's what those are for, that's one of the mechanisms, to have someone to be the representative of the entity to do that.
I mean, obviously, that's an attractive property because it's already been demolished.
Yeah, and of course it's got, if, you know, that's where the deal that we're working on with John Elmore, and I'll let Jason talk about that, but that's where if some of the debts were relieved, they're not, the banks are not gonna recoup that money, they know that, you know, I mean, they've been, you know, they gave up on that 5 or 6 years ago, but they still have the liens against it. So, that's, each one of them has its own, like I said previously, they all have their own set of problems, and that's what we're gonna work on. Like when the Luke House, for instance, when I sent the bank that owned it a letter, at the time, Doug Falwell was representing the bank, and he got with me, no, he's representing the Luke House. He said, would you hold off on this property? You know, you sent them a letter, blah, 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 and I said, yeah, I did. And he said, well, the Luke House has plans for it, the bank is working with them, would you hold off and see what happens? And I said, sure. Well, it ended up being the Luke House, but that property had $38,000 owed to the bank against it, to the estate, on a home equity line of credit. When the guy died, he owed that much money. The house was abandoned after he died. But, you know, the bank worked with the Luke House and rescinded the debt. Now, they wouldn't do that for everybody. They did that because they thought it was a good cause. But, you know, the properties, maybe it's 45 or 50,000. You know, I don't know how they settle those. You know, not really on that stuff, but, you know, I'm sure they've got so much in a line item in their budget that they can write off each year for bad debts.
So
And-
whoever buys a property in a tax sale is also buying the debt?
Yes. Yes. Same as in a sheriff's sale. You know, you're not buying a free and clear title. You're buying the property with the liens.
Of the bank plus what we have, right?
Well,
as a
whoever,
city.
You could,
Whoever has
whoever,
bills
it could
against
be,
it,
it
right?
could be
Could be
7 or
Sullivan
8
County
pages.
Community Hospital,
Right.
Exactly.
the Southwest School
Well,
Corporation.
because it's personal debts from them and all.
Brian,
Yeah.
that must be only the case down here, because I bought properties up in, when I lived up in Plainfield on sheriff sales, and they would have all those liens released before they take it up for the sheriff's sale, before they presented it to the public. Those were all, so just down here, they must not get released before they take it to the
They've
sheriff's
had their
sale.
own program that.
Yeah, it
they-
must be.
they
I
clean
don't
up
know.
first. They clean the
Yeah.
properties up, the
Uh-huh.
paperwork up
Right,
first, which
exactly.
we're trying to get that.
Yeah.
But we just haven't got it done yet. Like I said, I'll let Jason expand on that. So, of course, had guys write letters for the school, change subjects here, switch gears. Jim, Rob, Jeff, all wrote letters of support for the demolition grant. And I'm sure that helped. So I congratulate you guys as a whole, as a board, for helping on that. We all work together and get paid off. So we're still moving along and doing the best we can do, and that's about all I got for tonight.
Good deal. Why don't you just pick up where he left off there, Jason?
I don't know that I have a whole lot to add. We're obviously gonna be working on, moving forward on this demolitions and doing the proper paperwork to give the proper parties notice, which is usually the big issue that you have, is getting notice to the proper, people with a substantial interest or known or recorded substantial interest. We're gonna start on, I think, a few on Monday. I'll walk those through. It's a very tedious part of the Indiana code that you have to walk through, and every fact scenario is different. So you kind of move down through the code, and as you move down through the code, you may have to take a left turn or a right turn according to what the fact scenario is, and each one of these is different. So we'll continue to move those forward at as quick a pace as we can. They'll be ready so that we can deal with those after, when's the tax sale? Tax sale's
Next
October.
week from tomorrow.
Yeah, it's next week, so we'll be able to move quickly thereafter. If they sell in the tax sale, okay, not a problem, because you'll obviously get some monies from whatever liens you presently have, or they won't be your problem anymore, one or the other. But the ones that are will continue to move forward. I did attempt to contact John Elmore today with regard to the cleanup properties that have been on, I think, on our agenda now for, it's been 2 years. I think it's been 2 years, 2 or 3 years, with the county trying to get those, petitioned and deeded over. I don't know any more about the status than, I'm assuming they're in the process. It sounds like I'm a broken record when it comes to that.
Is it a legal issue that the lawyers don't move quickly enough, or is it a political issue that the political body doesn't make a decision?
I think what it is the petitions, to make sure that these things are clean, so that we can take title to them cleanly, from a city standpoint. You have to petition the circuit court, file that petition, to do that. It's kind of a lengthy process.
Why would it be lengthy?
Huh?
Why is it lengthy?
Well, you have to have title work. Know what you have to have title work. You got to prove you got proper service on everyone. With that petition, then a hearing set for anybody to appear at that hearing. You could have parties that aren't known that you.
That has liens against that property?
And as part of the process, yeah. Or somebody who has a known interest in that property. You may find that out as you're going through the process. But I think they're at the point now where they can file the petitions in the courts and move it forward, and I think very quickly thereafter, it's just a matter of getting those petitions filed at this point. That's where I think it's at. And like I said, I didn't have the opportunity to talk with John today, so I'm going to offer him whatever assistance I can if he would like me to draft those petitions. I'll be more than happy to draft those petitions. They're his petitions because they're the county, not the city, okay? But I'd be happy to at least put it in a draft form, have him look at it, if that will help expedite the process. So that's what I was going to talk
Took
to.
over another law firm too, so it's kinda.
Yeah,
So
that's,
he's probably kinda
overloaded at
busy,
this
isn't he?
point.
yeah, I mean, when I called today, he was in court. He usually gets back to me, fairly quickly, and so, I mean, I just,
That's good.
he and I have been playing phone tag now for a couple of weeks. He's
took
been
Doug's
covered up.
cases.
He took a lot of, Doug's clientele over, and I'm sure he does some, doesn't he do some public defender work too? So I'm assuming he probably got extra cases there as well, because Doug wasn't doing that anymore, so I'm sure he's covered up. That's why I was gonna offer him, assistance of potentially trying to put those in a draft form so that we could get those headed in the right direction. Cause you're gonna have to get them in front of the court before we can get anything done. Then, once the court rules on it, it's not a tedious process after that. You have to have a resolution for the county, basically sending those over to the city, and the city accepting those. And then it would be the city, and as part of that resolution, then you would be able to sell those properties as well.
And I gave him a copy of Park County's
Yeah.
resolution to use as a template.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's there, it's just a matter, it's a paperwork issue. We just need to get the paperwork done, get it filed, and be done with it. And like I said, I was gonna offer him
That resolution,
assistance.
a mirrored resolution, would it be for the plan commission to sign or the city council?
City council,
That's what I thought.
yeah.
Now, once the county gives us those properties,
Mhm.
then it's our responsibility to get those titles all cleaned up, or
They'll
liens,
be
or it
clean.
has to be cleaned up first
It'll be clean.
by the county and then give to
They'll be
us.
clean.
It's all-
That's what
that's
you're
right.
doing. You're cleaning the titles is what
Gotcha.
you're doing.
And then we'll have the,
Then you'll be able
and then we
to,
own them,
yeah.
and then we have the expense of,
Yeah, cause nobody's gonna purchase for any amount of money. I wouldn't, a clouded title piece of property.
Oh, no.
I mean, that's the problem you have with them. So you wanna
The
make
main
sure.
problems we have is who cuts their losses. We have liens, banks have liens. Who's
Yeah.
gonna rescind their part of what's owed?
Well, I think in the real world, they have to come to some understanding, they better.
So if you're not.
take
Yeah,
the best
because
deal
it's
they're
gonna be
get,
carried over
because
every year,
otherwise-
wouldn't it?
It's like the guy at work that borrows $20 off of you 5 years ago, and 5 years later you still haven't got it, you gotta pay 70, he's not gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
Hey, Jason, on them,
If you give you
I
$5,
was curious,
you're
on the
gonna
ones
take it.
where the bank's got a lien, and you might send in the paperwork, and they're not gonna accept it. A lot of these
Well-
places, when do you just go to court and you just go to court and say they refused the service?
Yeah, and then,
Because these
and
banks, a lot of times, they gonna take the stuff.
then you get into the issue of whether or not, have you attempted service? Do they have service? I mean, sometimes what you end up having to do, you have to be a process server. I mean, I've had to personally serve places before too. You walk in and you such and such, yeah, I am, and here it is.
It's like that
And you,
movie, The
you
Divorce
hand it,
Thing.
you literally hand it to them. I mean, because a lot of times by registered mail, they just will not pick it up. So then
Or deny it that they got it.
they deny that they got it. So you're gonna have to be able to show that we got service. And some of these banks, you have to understand, are, you know, they're based in Cincinnati, they're based in Florida, they're based other places now. You know, how do you go about getting that? I mean, you can
Who has
do it.
friends where, you know?
You can do it. I mean, but if they've got a local branch, I think most of your places are gonna say you can go in and serve the manager at that bank, and that's gonna be proper service, because they ought to be able to get it to who it needs to go to.
Right.
You know,
There you go.
it's according to what's recorded in the mortgage and those type of things. I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just, I can tell you that 9% of the time, it's the notice provision that holds you back more than anything. Is it's trying to figure out if this bank had it, but they don't have it anymore. As Brian said, these banks sell these mortgages like they're, especially when they're bad debt, which is probably what the majority of these are. So I'm a bank and I sold it to Brian, who's another bank or some type of mortgage company who has it, and then they decide they can't collect it. Then they've actually sold it to a collection company. And that collection company turned around and sold the paper to somebody else. And it just, and they sell it for pennies on the dollar. So it just kind of gets shifted around, so you have to track it many times to this. Who's now got the interest, or who do I need to give notice to? And then you have these situations whereby, what happens when you have a bank has a known interest? We know they have it, but they've never taken title to the property. Give them notice, because you don't want them coming back later on. You want that title clean, so you don't have them come back later on trying to overturn it, saying, well, this was an improper thing, and as far as that. So that's probably the most tedious thing is doing that. And the problem is, sometimes by the time you get title work done, it could have changed. So what you do is you serve places, and then they come back and they say, yeah, you served us, but we're not the owner of this anymore. It's Joe Bob's, whatever. So then you take the next step. So it can be done. It's just, once you start the process, you need to move along rather quickly.
Well, you got the same players.
Well, you got the same players the best you can. And so I think these can be done. It's just a matter of, we need to get that paperwork filed with the courts. And that's what I was going to talk to John about was, I know you're busy. How can I help? Can I draft pleadings for you? What can I do to get this, to help you get it? Because I know he's swamped. So, because I think that will help facilitate it more than anything. Because I know, I've talked to him, he's done the research, he knows what needs to, how it needs to be put together and prepared. He now has the title work, so we've got a resolution that they've used in some others, so we've got templates to do all this. Now's the time to move this along. So my hope is at the next meeting I can report to you that that the petitions have been drafted and they're ready to be put forth in the courts. So I don't really have anything else.
Okay. I didn't really have any new business, just to pick up on kind of a light random period here, just to reiterate again, what good news we got from Oak Grove on Central School. So I'm sure, I don't know how the mayor's gonna handle that whole process as they go through that,
I think once it gets started, there's not a lot of local hands-on stuff to be done.
yeah, kind of,
Once it gets going, I mean, they take care of, I'm sure there's paperwork to be signed, but I mean, we don't like hire contractors to do things and stuff like that, I don't think.
Who does that? Who hires the contractors?
The one firm does it all.
Oh,
Whoever
okay,
you
I see,
award it
whoever,
to,
whoever
whoever
you grant
gets-
against the,
whoever
gotcha.
gets
So you
awarded.
hire like a
General.
general contractor and
Yeah.
boom,
They
and then
take care of the rest.
That, the same group that wrote the grant for that is working with us on the master plan. And I'm expecting to hear something on that. Yeah, it probably any day on that. And again, they've basically told us that we're going to be awarded that grant as well to do the master plan. So, and I don't know, when the funding comes in the cycle and all that, but I think that will also happen. And I'll know something about that, hopefully within maybe next meeting.
Just a reminder about next meeting, we'll have October meeting, and then we won't have a November meeting, we'll have a early December meeting for November and December will be combined. Because our meeting always falls on Thanksgiving.
I think I got that, when is that, December one?
So
Tim, may I ask something about that? You talking about a master plan thing, or are you talking about like what they're gonna do with that property once they raise the building? Is that what the master plan is
No.
discussing?
No, the master plan would be for the entire city
Oh, I see, okay.
on that. That would be a part of it, but it would be the whole city.
I got you.
Yeah, I got that, I did that early.
it's a calendar, but it's like
the sixth,
Sixth.
December sixth.
Yeah, you say it's right, sixth, December sixth. We schedule those a year in advance.
So I didn't have anything. Anybody else?
I keep coming to these city meetings with all the city leaders, and I keep waiting for a discussion at one of the meetings about the annexation. I mean, I thought there was supposed to be not just, and when I first read about it, I heard it was going to be public meetings, plural, not a public meeting, which are just, which seems like it's narrowed down to. And I've never heard any discussion at any meeting about like new information that you'd learned since it was proposed, any kind of discussion about new information that you received from people that had questions or anything like that.
I think a lot of that has been done on a personal level. From what I understand,
That's why that's my big objection. That's
send letters to people who are involved in the process, and
I told Clint I don't want to talk to him about it in private. I want to talk in an open forum where everyone can hear the things you have to say in case you have something that's pertinent to say.
Well, as far as this group, this is the Sullivan City Plan Commission.
Right.
That's not part of the city, so
Yeah.
we
Well,
wouldn't,
but
we wouldn't
okay.
have any of that input.
Well, I thought that, maybe I'm wrong, that I thought that I read in the paper, after the city proposed the annexation, this committee voted to support it until you, I don't know what, some kind of non-binding resolution, I think it was said, that you, but you were wanting to get information so it could, that's something, I thought there was something like that.
I think I'm aware of the process a little bit. I think there's been some, I think everybody in the proposed annex area has received some mailings, I mean, I guess.
The lady across the street from me told me she had never received,
I don't
hadn't
know.
ever received anything.
Every Public Works and
I don't know, I don't,
Yeah, well, I've been to all of them. I've been to public works meetings and I've been to city council meetings. They won't let you talk to city council meetings.
I think there is a public hearing to be scheduled, isn't it?
I thought there was.
There
I
is.
believe that's the 8th or 9th.
I think it's the 8th or
Whatever
9th is when it
Tuesday
is.
is.
The public hearing, but I'm saying, I thought that was supposed to be plural, not singular.
And it may be plural, I don't know if there's another one scheduled out.
Yeah.
you can't have a second one until you have the first
Or
one.
the first one is scheduled that night, and I
Okay.
don't know what will come after that. I mean, that's, the city council
Yeah,
does that, so.
I think there's just the one right now.
yeah, I thought so too. But I've tried to come and talk at different meetings, ask questions and things. I got one question asked at one meeting. It took a month to get back an answer, and I got it as Clint walked out of the meeting. He dropped the answer on my chair I was sitting in. and nobody will discuss anything. And I think it's important for the community to know what's gonna actually happen to that tax money. I don't think they know. I don't think that they realize that the city, we're gonna be paying $190-some thousand in taxes, but the city's gonna get 260 or 270. And other money's gonna come from the school system, that's gonna come from the township, it's gonna come from the county, and it's gonna come from the library system in the county. And that, everybody's gonna be giving up money to the city of Sullivan. And another problem with that is, the city of Sullivan has such a huge tax rate that all these other entities of the local government are taking, since everybody's capped out now, I mean, everybody's gonna be capped out on taxes, they're all getting less money than they normally should be getting. Huh? And no one knows it. I mean, it's just no one knows
I
it.
think come, certainly, October
Yeah.
the 8th or 9th or whenever that is, you'll have that opportunity
Yeah.
to bring
Yeah.
that up.
It's just like one of the points of doing it was people out in Hamilton Township aren't paying enough toward the fire department. Well, Hamilton Township has lost half of their money because the city tax rate is so high that right now I pay $47 a year to Hamilton Township taxes. After annexation, I'm gonna pay 11. So if everybody in the city is doing that same rate, Hamilton Township doesn't have any money, very little. And same thing at school. It's
I thought the annexing was to increase.
to increase the money for the city.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen the map?
Yeah, I know all about
Okay,
that.
and
Yeah.
the price-
You know,
Again, it's-
I mean, but you can't get anybody to discuss it. That's why nobody acts like they haven't
No,
opinion about
I
it.
think there's been a fair amount of discussion. I think the meeting, the first one that will be scheduled,
Uh-huh.
will be
People.
exactly that,
Right, okay.
on that. I mean, I don't know what the city council's had an opportunity to look at all of this. Certainly the mayor's had an opportunity to look at it. I don't know what opinion people
Yeah.
are reaching.
I'm sure people don't even know it, Jim.
And that might be, I mean.
I'm sure they don't know it.
That might be, I mean, some people are more engaged than others, that's all I can say, so.
So that meeting is gonna be the city council here, October 8th?
No, it'll be at the park.
Yeah.
Park, oh,
It's gonna
park.
have to be
Big enough.
park.
It'd be part of
I
the
was gonna say
home
they probably a few there.
Sorry?
It'd be at the Park of the Home Center.
Home center.
If you make it up there, put it an hour later, cause I can't drive it right.
I mean,
Parking will be easier.
there's been, all of those numbers are over, they're somewhere, they're filed, I mean, this public record,
It's,
the detailed plan, you can get it from someplace,
I know, but they don't say, it doesn't say anything here about the rest of the town, the rest of this county. The taxpayers in it the different parts of the county are losing money because of this.
and here's,
Uh-huh.
I know that I know Clint has spoken to some of those entities. I don't know
Right.
what the conversation has been,
Right.
but I know that the school corporation is aware of it. I understand other entities are aware of it. I don't know what action they'll take, but I know that they're aware of it.
Well, what I hope is the whole community, the whole town, no, not the town, it's whole Southwest School Corporation people, really. I hope they all realize that they're gonna have to quit fighting amongst themselves about, there's only so much money. And you're just gonna divide that pie of money.
Right.
If somebody raises their rates, then that person's gonna get a little bit more money, and everybody's gonna
Well,
lose.
But
as,
you gotta
Yeah.
remember too, that $47 that you pay to Hamilton Township,
You pay,
I pay some too.
you pay something, that's what I told you, you pay,
You know, I
if you
mean-
see, they pay a lot
But
less.
then the city pays the balance of anything that's not picked up by people who live in
I
Hamilton
understand,
Township,
but
so we're getting hit twice. We pay Hamilton Township and we pay the
I think we're
city.
getting.
No, I think,
Yeah.
no, I think, see, that's what, you're right, you pay all 5 units of
Right.
local government, where I'm only paying 4 units of local government.
Right,
And I'm not tax capped out yet, but I will be way tax capped
We
out
just
when the
talked
city.
a bit.
I know.
Yeah, this-
It's in the weeds, I know,
Yeah.
people
you
get,
need to talk to
This-
the.
yeah.
This is,
We
this
need
is the
to get
plan
that
committee, it has
repealed.
nothing to do with me.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what needs to
We
happen.
can chat
We need to
later.
get that
I'm
repealed.
sure the city,
That
the
tax
city
cap
is
deal.
losing $214,000 a year to the school on the property tax.
Well, I'll tell you this, if they repeal it,
$214,578.
they've already lost that much money, saying,
It's that's much how much it is per year.
yeah, well, I know, and the city lost a bunch of money with it too.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
The city-
Yeah, yeah,
the city
yeah,
lost- No
yeah.
one else lost that kind of money.
Oh, the school system did.
No, the school system cost us $214,000. I'll get the
Okay.
paperwork tomorrow morning.
Hey,
Let's move along here. This, we
Yeah,
can pick up this later.
Okay, yeah.
Anything else?
I know about
It's
this.
public record.
Yeah, okay.
It's because they got those building fund
Commission,
levies.
or
Yeah,
the commission, if anybody on the commission's got any comments. Mike's the only person that's, oh, well, George, you wanna say something?
No, thank
All right.
I have nothing.
You were getting mad when you told me.
Glad I could attend. Just glad I
Say
could attend.
motion to adjourn?
Well, I like that, just
Take
have
a
a calm discussion, get at it.
I didn't know that about the school. I knew they had that tax levy on, but I didn't realize how the impact until Tuesday.
Okay. Do we have a vote?
I guess, yeah, we call a vote.
All in favor on
Aye.
adjournment?
Aye.
We're out of here.
Or like